I'd like to call this regular city council meeting August 20th, 2015 to order. Can we call the roll?
Coos?
Here.
Zingy? Here. Carlson?
Here.
Kiefer?
Here.
Harrison? Harris?
Me, yes, ma'am. Whoever else, yes.
Severson?
Here. Please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item we have is a public hearing on ordinance number 1800, providing for the sale of certain citywide real properties acquired through tax foreclosures and not needed for a public purpose. Is there anybody here to speak to that? Seeing none, we'll close that. We come down to communications. We have a letter requesting a 24-hour parking and 4 reserved staff places from Southeast Senior Services. I'd like to move that to item 7A12. We also have a letter addressed to Craig Richard, State Alaska Attorney General, requesting that the state of Alaska file an appeal petition to the U.S. Supreme Court to review the July 29, 2015 Ninth Circuit Court decision. I'd like to move that to 5A6 on consent. We also have communications from the city manager in regards to postponing the executive sessions. We have Mayor Williams and 2 staff that are involved in negotiations out of town. If there's no objection, we'll do that. We also have communications from our solid waste supervisor in regards to some damage to the solid waste baler, and a memo in regards to that. And that brings us down to persons to be heard. First on the list, Gail.
Okay, I'm Gail Jackson, and I'm part owner of the Upland property at Hull-Malone Marina. And it was brought to my attention that one of the lines that delineates the harbor, that separates the harbor, in 1983, there was a new survey done for the harbor. Went from ATS 405 to ATS 1199. In that process, they had initially surveyed the whole thing and put it all into the under the whole harbor into under 1199. Then the department DNR decided that because of the business of the upland owner, that they shouldn't take the whole shouldn't take the whole harbor for the, that they should retreat it back to the southern boundary, back to the original 405, and leave the section that goes along the upland owners for the upland owners' usage in case they want to use the water for their business. So that when they transferred the 1199 over to the borough, they didn't transfer that section. That section still belongs to the state and is still available for the use of the upland owner. The thing that concerns me is that in the new designs that have come forward on the upgrade, there isn't, the delineation of that southern boundary isn't on that design. And so I just like to and so it kind of makes me wonder, how do they know that the new docks aren't going to be over that line and encroaching into the area that was left by DNR for the uplands usage. So I just would like to have some people look at that. I've got DNR, I've got a hold of them, and they're supposed to be looking at it. But I know it's late in the game here, but it was just brought to my attention. Now I'm bringing it to yours.
Well, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Carl, you'd have Steve look into that.
I believe Mr. Corporon can address that. this
Okay.
evening.
Steve, you'd like to come forward? You want to do that now?
Oh, sure.
Might as well move through it.
Port Harbor's Director, Steve Corporon. I forwarded all the information up to P&D late this morning. I just got off the phone with them about 5 minutes before 7 tonight. They've reviewed it. One of the drawings that she sent, it shows the floats closer to the line she's talking about from that 82, 83 drawing. It appears in talking with the surveyors, the floats on those drawings were not surveyed in. It looks like they were just drawn in. The survey lines and the floats were surveyed as part of the design for this project to verify all the corners and all the lines. We're confident that no work is going to be taking place anywhere on the area that she's asking about.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions? Thanks, Steve.
Yes, sir.
It's not that hard, huh, Gail?
That brings us to Kathleen.
Hello, I'm Kathleen Light. I'm the director of the Arts Council. I live at 410 Cedar Lower. I want to, first of all, thank you for your time and effort in considering our proposal for the conveyance of the fire station to build a artist residency program in Ketchikan. I also want to thank the staff. I know they've put a lot of time into preparing information for you guys for this meeting, and they've been very helpful in putting this proposal together. Over the past few weeks, our board members have tried to reach each of you individually to answer any questions and work through your concerns about the proposal. And I hope the information we put together and the websites we provided for you guys and the public have been helpful in your research to understand our proposal and in envisioning for yourself what an artist residency program could do in the community. I won't take a lot of time except to reiterate that if you decide not to partner with the Arts Council, I would very strongly encourage you to make it possible for the carvers to utilize the building while they are displaced from the carving center. A reminder, as Max Mercer said at the last meeting, the City of Saxman does have some grant funds which can help with the expense of the carvers' temporary relocation. And as I mentioned in my communication, the Arts Council would be very honored to help facilitate that process if it comes to that. I'll be staying, as well as Kathy Rousseau, who is an artist who's spent a lot of time in residencies. She can speak to residencies from the perspective of an artist and the value to the artists. We'll stay till our agenda item comes up if you have any questions.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Thanks.
Anna.
Hi there, Anna Schaefer, 935 Forest Avenue, a citizen of the city and president of the Ketchikan Area Arts and Humanities Council. Today's my birthday, and I'm here with you instead of out celebrating because I felt like I needed to support an issue that I find very important. Have you walked around downtown lately, away from the waterfront, and really looked around? Buildings are empty and decay is happening. Historic buildings are in disrepair. You, the City Council, need to be leaders and partners in improving our downtown. Without a solid and prosperous downtown year-round, we look like a real risk to potential employees coming to town looking at professional positions. The Arts Council's proposal before you tonight and at your last meeting provides a vibrant opportunity for bringing new use to a historic downtown building, Fire Station 1, exciting new use as a location for artist residency programs. Similar endeavors in historic buildings have been successful in other areas of the country. This is a real opportunity to bring new money to town in the form of grants and paying participants who will stay in our town, eat meals, and explore. You already have had lots of information from multiple sources, and representatives from the Arts Council, as Kathleen said, are here to answer any questions you may have. We will stay through the agenda item. You have many options about how you could choose to be a partner in an exciting new use of a surplus historic building. I hope you can find a way to accommodate our local world-renowned carvers in the short term and work toward a long-term revitalization of this little part of town. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you, Hannah.
Okay.
That brings us on to consent. Under consent, is there anybody else that would like to speak? Yep. Excuse me.
Honorable Vice Mayor,
Welcome, Ed.
Honorable City Manager, Honorable Council members. My name's Fred Miller, and I'd tell you where I live, 637 Main Street, I think. But this morning, after my morning swim, I was in the sauna, and I was sitting there, and this subject came up. I told him I'd be coming down to see you, but I didn't have a lot of hope that I was going to persuade you to go for that art in residency project, although I thought it was great. Whereupon, one of my sauna members jumped up and said, "Why not?" He said, "Anybody knows that that would be such a wonderful, wonderful thing for Ketchikan. It would put them on the map. It would not only in the state, but all around, and that there's so many talented people here that these residents and these artists that would come in and enjoy this facility and speak in our schools and elsewhere, talk to our articles, that while this is going to cost a lot, it's worth it." So I said, "Well, why don't you come down to this meeting?" And he said, "No, I have to work, but you can quote me," and I think I have.
Anybody else? Moves us on to consent agenda. I would like to move items 6A2 and 6A3, which are in their second readings onto consent. Also, under new business, if no objections, I would like to move 7A3, 7A9. Any other additions or hearing none? Entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Kim, would you read the items?
Approval of the minutes, regular city council meeting of August 6, 2015. Award of contract 1529, 2015-2016 agreement for lobbying services, Ray Matuszewski and Associates. Budget transfers, city council community promotions account. 24-month extension of contract 1155 of the 2012-2013 vehicle fuel supply with Andrews Oil, Inc. Budget transfer, Ted Ferry Civic Center Stage refinishing project. Exempting the procurement of SCADA maintenance agreement from competitive bidding, written quotation requirements of the Ketchikan Municipal Code, Open Systems International, Inc. Ordinance 15-1797, amending subsection D of Ketchikan Municipal Code 7.16.070 entitled Solid Waste Disposal to increase community solid waste fee from $15 to $18 per month, second reading. Ordinance number 15-1800, providing the sale for certain citywide real property acquired through tax foreclosed and not needed for public purpose, authorizing such sale pursuant to City Charter Section 517, exempting such sales from requirements of the Ketchikan Municipal Code Section 3.12.060, second reading. 2015 Police Department Vehicle Acquisition, establishing a $825,090 contingency for the balance of contract 1338A construction services of the Ketchikan Medical Center expansion project, Leighton Dawson Joint Venture Constructors. That's it.
Yeah, did we mention the appeal letter?
And the letter of appeals going to the Attorney General Craig Richards.
Thank you, Dick. Would you call the roll, please?
Harris?
Aye.
Zingy?
Yes.
Severson?
Yes.
Kiefer?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Coos?
Yes.
Thank you. That brings us down to unfinished business. There's a Item 1, provide monthly employee health insurance copay and annual vacation accrual positions of city clerk and city manager. I'm going to ask that this be withdrawn. I made the motion, and with the approval of my second. As you did see in the memo, these are already part of the contract agreement with both the city manager and the city clerk. We have to vote on that for withdrawing it.
Okay,
So call the roll.
let's see here.
We just withdrew the motion, do we have to call?
Do we have to vote on it?
Do we have to withdraw? Or should we just do a show of hands?
I think, unless anyone objects to withdrawing.
Does anybody object?
I don't see a problem with it.
Thank you, Dave. Keep me straight here. Brings us down to
Remember
item
something.
4, under general government, proposal for the conveyance of 1319 Main Street Old Fire Station, number 1, to the Ketchikan Area Arts and Humanity Council Artist Residency Program.
And there is a motion on the table.
And there is a motion on the table.
Okay.
It was moved by Olson, seconded by Zingy, and the city council adopt a motion directing the city manager to respond to the August 6, 2015 proposal of the Ketchikan Area Arts and Humanity Council for the conveyance of 319 Main Street to the agency for the purpose of establishing an artist residency program and determined appropriate by the city council.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I do think that the artist in residency is a great idea. But right now, with our state budget the way it is, I just don't think giving away our assets is a good idea. If anything, we should be selling that property. If we're not going to do that, though, I would like to see us work with the Carvers in some way. I do have a question for Kathleen, or someone from the Arts Council. Did anyone think of talking to the performing arts people? I think they have
About
a
what?
big door about using their building, or
They have, and I, of course, don't run their organization,
No, I
so
know.
I can't be the actual end of the
I just wondered if
line
you
there.
discussed it with them.
No, they
Okay.
have permission to use the lower level, and for public use, they are only able to use the lower level, and that is their office space. That door is that. So the other spaces are storage.
Okay.
Does that make sense? You want me to say that again?
No, I think I understand. You know,
Okay.
do you need-
I've got a question.
Yes.
Why don't we sell it to them? You guys don't
Sell it to who?
sell it to you guys.
Well, we're a nonprofit, and so we won't be buying it. We, of course, can leverage grants to renovate it. We can, of course, leverage fees to operate it, but we are not in a position to purchase a property like that.
Even if we were to hold the contract? I'm just speaking for myself, not for the city. I'm just, you know.
We have not discussed that. What we are asking for is our proposal,
Right.
which is a conveyance.
Thank you. Judy?
So, but the Arts Council would be willing to facilitate the city working with the Carvers to use the place maybe temporarily or something like that? See how it
Absolutely.
works?
Absolutely. I think it would behoove the entire community to allow the Carvers to go in there, if nothing else. Let them continue their work. They are in the middle of contracts for the city of Ketchikan, for the city of Saxman. It would benefit everyone to allow them to continue working. Plus, it would allow you to see what it's like to have that caliber of artists in our downtown area and what it does for us. It's an extraordinary opportunity for everyone in Ketchikan to have them downtown.
Dave?
Yeah, I would certainly support moving ahead and doing what we can to have the Carvers in there, because I think that would benefit the downtown a lot. There's a lot of, with your own material, there's been a lot of discussion about, what's the property worth? Well, as you guys know, the property is worth what someone's going to pay for it. It's been unused now for 3 years. As far as I can tell, there's not been a lot of folks beating down the doors for that property. There's some folks expressed interest, but I don't know. I guess I'm willing to if you guys want to put it on the market, sure, let's see what's out there. But I'm certainly willing to have the Carvers in there for a year and see how that goes. And then I'm not opposed, after we've done our due diligence, we want to deal with that in conveying it. If, you know, it's not on the main drag. You know, as was mentioned before, there are an awful lot of empty properties downtown. It's not a property that's particularly well designed for a variety of the downtown uses right now. You know, you're not going to sell jewelry out of there. You're probably not going to sell a whole lot of other stuff out of there. It's hard to actually see someone buying that property and using it in a way that's going to, we're going to see. That's my opinion.
Dick and then Judy.
Yeah, I think that we should work with the Carvers, probably directly, to put somebody in there. It's a short-term period while they're fixing their building out there. The other thing I would say, in the long term, we need to go ahead, and we've discussed this before, look, and maybe it's you go out with an RFP or something, proposals for a biomass heating plant there that would heat that block, and see if there's any interest. If there's no interest, then the next alternative is probably to get rid of it. But I don't think we would give it up until we see whether or not that block, including the city, could save money on their heat. And it's no skin off our back except to go out with an RFP to see if anybody bites. If they don't bite, well then there's the next step after the Carvers move out.
Judy?
I have had folks ask me about the fire station. I think one of the reasons they're not beating down the door is they didn't know if it was even a real possibility to buy it. I do like the idea of an artist in residency, and that's why I think maybe having the Carvers use it, we'll see what that looks like. I think, though, the Arts Council folks are the best folks to facilitate that for us. It doesn't put as much pressure on our staff to do that. But either way, I hope we work with the Carvers.
Anybody else? I'd like to thank the members of the Art Council that did give me a call. We had some really great discussions about their position, and then I, of course, explained my position as a city council, and you know, we have to be responsible for the assets of the city. And I looked up you know, chapter 3.12 and about purchase and sales of properties, and you know, it says that the sale, lease, donation, exchange, or other transfer of real property are an interest therein to or with another municipality, a state, or the United States when under such terms and conditions as the council in its sole judgment deems advantageous to the city. So we have some leeway to work with the Carvers, but it also, when it talks about the sales or disposition of property, no real property or interest therein or any value may be sold, leased, exchanged, or otherwise disposed of until the council has declared by motion or resolution that the real property or interest therein is surplus or unneeded, or that the transaction is otherwise in the best interest of the city. And in speaking with the staff, the building is not being used as a fire hall, but it is being utilized. We have our record storage. When we did the remodel of this particular facility, we no longer had the ability to store those records here, so they are in storage there also. And then the city has useful furniture that's moved between different departments as needs and stuff goes, and that stuff is also stored there, and I believe that building maintenance works out of that particular facility for the downtown structures that we have. So I don't think that we necessarily satisfied the fact that it is surplus, because we haven't declared that, and I do think there is a need right now. And if we weren't utilizing that particular facility for our storage, we'd be paying for that someplace else. Or we'd be taking up storage from other departments that maybe need it for other things. I have heard around the table that there's indeed an interest in working with the displaced Carvers and getting them maybe into that facility. I had a short conversation with the mayor of Saxman, and she was somewhat unaware of the need, and the letter that we got was from their manager out there. So I guess what I would first do is have Carl contact the parties and see what's needed. When the remodel is going to be taking place, I've heard a couple of different dates as late as after Christmas. So those are ideas that we'd have to take a look at and see what's going to go on there. I also, we had a memo in regards to the utilities in the Biscuit Place, and that's going to be up to the council whether they want to move in that direction. Saxman has said they do have some money to help with that. We're running about $1,000 a month for heating and electrical to maintain the building and keep the records and stuff dry. If there's a spike above that or something, maybe we would discuss that, or if we want to donate that, that's fine too. But I think those are items that we're going to have to talk about. Now, if they're going to be letting general public in there, there's going to be liabilities in regards to that we may have to talk to, whether Saxman had taken Cape Fox or that Carver themselves will have to take out an insurance policy for that. I'm not sure if that's going to be on the city's insurance or not. But again, those are things I think that we should have staff look into. So, we do have a motion.
The motion is just to direct staff.
Yeah, direct staff is basically what it is. So at this particular point, I guess I would say that we're not interested in the donation or transfer of the property, but we are indeed interested in working with the Carvers and seeing what it takes to put them in the building and what that agreement's going to look like. All right? Thank you. So, where'd my agenda go? There it is.
But didn't we
Nope.
have to vote on that?
We should do a roll call.
We have to,
We have to vote on that.
do we have
I'm just
to,
asking, I don't know nothing.
as determined appropriate by the city council, okay?
And then Carl can bring it back under.
We gave direction.
What's that?
We gave direction to Carl.
Yeah, but
Right, but we
Shouldn't
still
like
need,
that.
there's
there is
still
a
a
motion on the
motion
floor that we need to probably,
That's all it is.
that we either have to do yes or no on.
So I think that we've decided with the direction, so the motion, we need a roll call on that. We decided that we're not going to convey the property this time, but we're going to direct staff to move forward with talking to the Saxman and Arts Council about moving the Carvers into the building and seeing what that's going to take.
Is that the motion that's on there?
No,
It says give direction, so, or determine appropriate by the city council, so that's where we're at. And that's, I think, what we determined here at the table. So Kim, would you call the roll?
Kiefer,
yes,
Carlson,
Yes.
Coos,
Yep.
Harris,
Yes, ma'am.
Severson,
Yes.
Zingy.
Yes.
Thank you. That brings us down to new business, 7A1, the comprehensive annual financial report of the city of Ketchikan, Alaska, and the supplementary compliance report section of the year, December 31st, 2014. Dirk, you're here to speak to that.
Good evening. Most of you know me, I'm Dirk Richardson from the firm of Meekin Richardson and Company.
Excuse me, Dirk, I think we're going to have a motion on this first, to put it on the floor. So, can I have a motion, please?
Your Honor. I move the city council accept the comprehensive annual financial report of the city of Ketchikan, Alaska, and the supplementary compliance report section for the year ended December 31, 2014.
second.
Been moved and seconded. All right, Dirk, thank you.
Okay. First, I want to thank you for allowing us to serve you and do your 2014 audit. We completed that basically on June 25th and have your main financial statements, and we have a compliance report. The main financial statements were put together by the city and we audited them. We give an opinion on it, and basically we audit the financial statements using generally accepted auditing standards and governmental auditing standards. We don't look at everything, but we look at things on a test basis. And we give you an opinion, and our opinion is what we call today an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion. So on page 16 of your report, it says, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information as of December 31st, 2014. So you have that report, and that's on your basic financial statements. And then you also have a compliance report which includes the audit we do as required by the federal government and the state government. It's called the federal single audit and the state single audit. And you issue a schedule of expenditure of federal awards and a schedule of a state schedule of financial assistance. And we had about $29 million worth of state monies that we opined on, and about $2 million worth of federal monies. And that basically were clean reports as far as the schedules go. There was a deficiency in some of the reporting to the granting agencies that was cleaned up before the end of the year, and that's reported in these. So, and then we do a management letter. There's a management letter comment in here that speaks to itself. So I mean, just read it and read the comments and our recommendation. And then we have an auditor's communication with those charged with governance. It goes over some of the things that we encounter during the audit. And I think those reports speak for themselves, so I generally don't do anything other than saying. So we basically give you 3 reports. Report on the basic financial statements, report on the federal schedule of financial assistance and the state schedule of financial assistance. And, yeah. So that being said, are there any questions?
Yeah, Dirk, you've worked doing the audits for a number of years. I guess my question is, how's the New World system working for getting you the data that you need for these particular reports? We've gone into the new accounting system, and I'm sure that it's providing you with a lot of the data for this.
Well, it's a little early to say. I mean, it's a big change. We've been doing the audit, as you know, for many, many years. And then now we've changed from doing it with the old AS400 system and a developed system that I got used to working with after working on the audit for many years. And I think the New World's, I think you guys had to do it. You had to come up to the 20th century, and I think it's a great move. It's been a challenge because we've had to change our auditing a little bit. With the reports are different, and everybody's had to learn it. We've had to learn it, and we're still in the learning process. I think this basically we started the 2012 audit, then 13 and 14, and I think they implemented the last implemented the last part of it in 2014. So I think it'll be great going forward. It's been a challenge doing the implementation, but this is a huge, I mean, what do you guys got, 150 million or something that you're, and then the assets are bigger than that. I mean, it's a lot to do, and it's a big change.
Yeah.
So it's not going to happen overnight. Everybody's not going to be happy with it immediately, but I think it's a move in the right direction.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dirk, I got a question for you.
So,
You've been doing these audits for a number of years, and I guess my basic question is, the rules change, and are these rules helping the city to be financially, I'll say, transparent, more efficient, and so forth, or is it just we're following some federal government rules to do stuff? And are we gaining from it? Now, I don't want to take any business away from you, but somehow or other, are we gaining or are we just complying?
well, the rules change, you have to comply. And whether or not, I mean, Bob and I have discussions about this quite a bit. There's an organization called the GASB that changes accounting principles almost daily, it seems.
Do they
like.
help us do a better job of running the government? That's the question. Or do they
I doubt
just
it.
cost us more
It's
money?
not, they're not designed to have you do a better job of running the government. I think they're designed for the people that read the financial statements, like the bonding companies and other people that are interested in what you have, making those better and better for them. Whether that does that or not, I don't know. It seems to me
Okay.
like years ago, I don't think these financial statements were near as
Yeah.
thick. They keep on adding more and more disclosure requirements under the idea of being transparent.
Yeah.
It may make it more transparent. I mean, now you have kind of two financial statements. You have entity-wide financial statements and you have fund financial statements. And the entity-wide are basically done on profit accounting, and the fund financial statements are governmental accounting. So that adds a lot more stuff, whether it gives more important information that you need to run the government. Bob is probably a better person to ask that than me. I do know they change. I do know the city has to keep up with it. I do know the people that change them think they're changing them for the better. But sometimes I think they're living up here in these towers, we call ivory towers, and they don't know how hard it is to implement some of the changes at this level.
Yeah. Well, and I know this probably won't go anywhere, but at least I think we have to ask the question every now and then, are we getting better, or are we just getting more stuff piled higher and deeper? And
Well, as
so-
far as the city goes, I think the city does the best they can to comply
Yeah,
with
I do
things.
too. I do too, yeah.
It's a tough job. The regulations you guys have to go through and your staff has to go through to this federal single audit and the state single audit and all the grant requirements. You spent $33 million worth of state and federal money. There's a ton of reporting that has to be done and compliance with various different rules.
And they never read it.
Sometimes I get documents this big, and I call the federal agency, and I say, would you help me get through this? And he'll say, he'll repeat the title of that document, and he'll say, it's all there.
Thanks, Dirk.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
No, thank you, Dirk.
Actually, I have a question for
Yeah.
Dirk before, for Mr. Newell.
All right, Bob?
I noticed one of the other reasons for the some of the delays was because we had a couple of staff people either retire or leave, and they hadn't been replaced. Are they going to be? Have they been replaced since then, or?
They have not been replaced yet. We are in the process of reorganizing our department that was approved with the adoption of the budget
Right, that's what.
last year, and we are planning to bring this to the city council, the final plan to reorganize in the second meeting in September.
Do you anticipate similar delays next year because of that, or?
I hope not.
Okay.
I hope not. And we really like to get it done because what happens is the longer it goes on, the harder it is to do the day-to-day stuff, and that makes it really hard. I'd also like to add one other comment with regard to Councilmember Cruz's question about the new accounting standards. I think the comments that Mr. Richardson said were very valid, but there's one other thing that makes it really challenging is we're a small government, and we're asked to do things that much larger governments are required to do, and they have much larger staff and more resources than we do. So I think it puts a lot of pressure on smaller governments, all the standards that we're required to abide by. And we have a new one that's coming up this year called GASB 68. It's going to require us to record our pension liabilities in our financial statements, the unfunded pension liability. That's going to be a major issue. Just to give you an example, the standard is 34 pages long, but the implementation guide is 175 pages. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to have to work our way through, and it takes us away from doing our regular duties.
Yeah, quick question. Bob, is there any way that anybody has any influence over the people who are called GASB that does this? Are they a private nonprofit that just, like Dirk said, sits up here in the ivory tower?
Smaller governments, no. Larger governments, yeah, they have more influence than we do. Smaller governments don't have much influence.
Does anybody have any influence? Could a federal delegation have any influence over those type of rules?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Councilmember Cruz, from my perspective and talking to my fellow managers, that board is not a friend of local government administration. It's, as Bob said, it's just getting more onerous and onerous in terms of what they require. And from my perspective, it does nothing to make the local operation better. It doesn't do anything to serve the local residents.
Who do they work for?
They're an independent entity, are they not?
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. There's an organization called the Financial Accounting Foundation, and they oversee private and governmental accounting standards. And they're a not-for-profit agency that's been charged with developing accounting standards across the country. and they delegated the governmental portion to GASB, which is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. If you don't follow the standards, then you can't get a clean opinion. So that's the heavy hammer that they have hanging over us. And if we don't have a clean opinion, then it makes it difficult to issue bonds, get good interest rates, and
Yeah.
similar things.
Okay. And before you vote, I'd like to have you pass on to the staff the wonderful job they do, and I understand that it takes a lot of time and effort to get this done, and continue to work the regular things that we have to do with the city of Ketchikan, so thank you. Call the roll, please.
Severson?
Yes.
Coos?
Yep.
Zingy?
Yes.
Harris?
Aye.
Kiefer?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
That brings us down to 7A2, a discussion regarding marijuana issues. Councilman Harris.
I'm going to turn my time over to Councilman Severson.
Thank you, KJ. We just finished the state AML summer session here in Ketchikan, and we had the opportunity to have Cindy Franklin of the ABC and the Marijuana Control Board address the group, and then later after that we were able to meet with her with the Marijuana Ad Hoc Committee and discuss the updating of the regulations. Set 3 is out now for review. She gave us a good insight into the timetable. She is very focused on the timetable because if they don't roll this out by the date, then it falls upon the local governments to figure out the licensing. But she says we will get there. They will have the complete draft of the articles by, I believe it's November 24th, and then they go to legal or law, and then from that, of course, they'll be going to the legislature for final approval. I'm very pleased with the progress that they've made and the comment from the board. There is still public comment. Those are written comments, but a little bit different mode. They are going to hold a verbal comment period out of the LIO in Anchorage in September, I believe. But we had a good discussion about some of the local obligations. We talked about the number of businesses that may be allowed. We talked about zoning issues. They have changed the setbacks from 250 to 500 feet, but they've changed the definition in regards to schools and youth-oriented facilities and that type of stuff. And the borough will be doing a remapping to reflect that, so we can take a better look at where the concentration of services may be applied. The ad hoc committee has made the decision that we are not in the we're not in favor of banning, but we're in favor of regulating and taxing and moving forward with the process. So we still have a considerable amount of work to do, and one of the things that we'll have our respective bodies do is they're going to have to draft up some ordinance in regards to if we object to a particular facility going in or something, and how we would do that with the state under the current laws. So that'll be coming to the city at some point and to the borough, and they'll write up their ordinances in regards to that. So if we object to something that is a license application or that type of stuff, how we go through that. But again, I was very pleased with the progress that the board has made, and I'm confident that they'll meet their deadline. That's what I have. Thank you.
Bob, are all the latest regulations, are they online?
They are online with the ABC board. They also try to, every 3-4 days, to update the public comments. So those are also listed on there, so you can see what other people are saying about it. That moves us to 7A4, authorizing a budget transfer update of the water and wastewater rate study prepared by FCS Group. Can I have a motion, please?
That's a long one. I move the city council authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with FCS Group to update the May 2013 water and wastewater rate study at a cost not to exceed $43,820. Approve a transfer of $21,910 from the appropriated reserves of the KPU Enterprise Fund to the Water Division's 2015 Management and Consulting Services account, account number 640-02, and approve a transfer of $21,910 from appropriated reserves of the Wastewater Services Fund to the Wastewater Division's 2015 Management and Consulting Services account, account number 640-02.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Carl?
I'll defer to the finance director on this, Mr. Mayor.
We've been asked to begin metering water for large commercial customers. In order to do this, we have to have a real sound basis for developing the rates. The last rate study that was done was started in 2011, and here we are, 2015, so it's about 4 years old. And the scope of the last study covered a 10-year period. So we felt that it was important to update the study so we had good numbers as far as moving forward with the development of the appropriate rate structures for a metered system. And we also felt that we needed to address some of the shortfalls of the earlier study, which did not address the methods of billing wastewater for large producers such as the seafood processors and the shipyards, where the amount of water they consume is not equal to the amount of water that's discharged in the system. So we needed to have that addressed as well. We just think it's important to, if we're going to do it, we need to do it right. And there's one other factor too. We would like to clean up the current methods of billing commercial customers include a base fee, a line charge, and then a fee based on the type of business they're in. And we would like to do away with that portion because that's very difficult to monitor. Like, for example, if we have a barber shop, we charge you so much for every barber share. Or if we have a restaurant, it's so much for every sink. And that's a very difficult structure to deal with. We don't have any staff available to go out and audit our commercial customers. So FCS is proposing to go to a different structure so that part will disappear. So that's really what we're trying to do here. Make sure we have good data for developing a future rate structure.
Any question? Dick?
Yeah, Bob, I guess I'm having trouble spending $43,000 on something we will probably tweak anyway. We've sat around and we've tried to raise the commercial ones or the seafood processors, and we've always ended up changing it. And if the current study we have, I'll say, is reasonable, then we're going to end up making some decisions sitting here at this table. And some of them, it would seem to me like we could do it like, I think it's unreasonable to be charging so much water, say, the landing per bathroom. We ought to do it on a metered basis and just use a metered basis. And it would seem like we could do that without going through a big study to do it, and some of the others too. I guess, like saying, I'm just having a hard time grasping and spending $43,000 on something that we're probably going to sit in our own mind and say, yeah, it's affects somebody here and here, we're going to tweak it a little bit. In the long run, we've got to get to a meter, but like I say, my problem is spending 43 grand.
I'm not a fan of studies, but I think we've talked a long time about doing this, about metering rates, and if we're going to do it, we're going to need up-to-date data in order to move forward and do it correctly. So I'm going to vote in favor of this.
Right. KJ?
Didn't we talk one time about rates of 20% to the fish processors a couple of years back or a year and a half back, and then we backed it off to 8%, something like that?
20%, I don't remember that. I remember we said we were gonna keep it for 3 years, and then at the third year, we were gonna go in and do this.
Wasn't sure what the rate was.
I actually asked for 100% at one time,
Right.
Well, we asked for it.
and that was still not anywhere close. But, you know, I think that if you're going to sit down at the table and talk about these, talk with these different industries, that you want current data, because they're going to come back and say, well, that's old data. And I think there are some discrepancies, as Bob mentioned, that maybe we can clean up some of the language and make it a little bit easier for us moving forward in the accounting manner. And we have asked them to look at other commercial and industrial entities to make it all work out. So I think we need to update the study myself. Like, again, if I'm sitting down across the table from these industries, I want to make sure they have accurate data to work off of. Call the roll, please.
Zingy,
Yes.
Coos,
Nope.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes, ma'am.
Carlson,
Yes.
Davidson.
Yes. All right, that will bring us down to 7A5. Approve the bid for contract number 15-24 hole-in-the-wall harbor replacement project, Western Dock Bridge LLC. Have a motion, please.
Yeah, Your Honor.
Yes.
I move the city council accept bid, move the city council accept the bid of Western Dock and Bridge and LLC in the amount of $2,464,250 for contract number 15-24 hole-in-the-wall harbor replacement project. Establish a 5% contingency in amount of $123,212, bringing the total project to $2,587,462, and authorize the funding from the Harbors Department 2015 hole-in-the-wall harbor reconstruction capital account, and direct the city manager to execute the contract documents on behalf of the city council.
Second.
Dick, do you have anything?
Nope, I think that the harbor department and the manager worked on this for quite a while, and we looked at the plans, and it's time to get it done.
Thank you. Anybody else? Call the roll, please.
Carlson,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes, ma'am.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Coos,
Yep.
Zingy,
Yes.
Severson.
Yes. Brings us down to 7A6, approving amendment number 2 to contract number 14-42, design of hole-in-the-wall harbor construction, PND Engineering, Inc.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move the city council approve amendment number 2 to contract number 14-42, design of hole-in-the-wall harbor construction between the city of Ketchikan and P&D Engineers, Inc., at a cost not to exceed $180,604. Authorize funding from the Harbor Department's 215 hole-in-the-wall reconstruction capital account, and direct the city manager to execute the amendment on behalf of the city council.
Do we need to make sure that was the correct number?
Right.
Yeah.
189.
189?
Thank you.
Trying to save money, that's good, that's good. I like how you work.
We
Dang.
need a second.
Second.
You get a second?
Moving second. Go ahead.
I just have one quick question for the manager. Now, we've got the money for both the contract and this construction administration sitting there.
That's correct.
Okay.
Port Numbers, Dr. Steve Corcoran, yes, and the CNI contract is also eligible for the 50/50 grant. So,
And we've got the 50/50 grant out of the state?
yeah,
Okay,
it covers fully 50% of this contract as well.
okay.
Thank you, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Any other? Please call the roll.
Zingy,
Yes.
Coos,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes, ma'am.
Carlson,
Yes.
Severson.
Yes. Brings us to 7A7, approving bid of contract number 1521 Thomas Basin Harbor Improvement, BAM LLC.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move the city council accept the bid of BAM LLC in the amount of $4,406,200 for contract number 1523, Thomas Basin Harbor Improvements Project. Establish a 5% contingency in the amount of $220,310, bringing the total project cost to $4,626,510. Authorizing funding in the amounts of $3,566,855 and $1,059,650 respectively from the Tourism and Economic Development Department's 2015 Thomas Basin Seawall Improvements Capital Account and the Harbors Department's 2015 Thomas Basin Ramp Replacements and Capital Account, and direct the city manager to execute the contract documents on behalf of the city council.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Dick?
That's a mouthful. Yes, we've been working on that one for a long time too, and we need to get it done.
Let's get it.
Any other comment? Please.
If I'm not mistaken, it's under budget.
What's that?
It's under budget.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thrilled with that. We'll see how it works.
Thus far.
Well, yeah, but it's only day one, you know.
Let's call the roll, please.
Carlson?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes, Pam.
Kiefer?
Yes.
Coos?
Yes.
Severson?
Yes.
Zingy?
Yes.
Brings us down to 7A8, authorize amendment number 5 to contract number 13-37, Thomas Basin Seawall Design, P&D Engineering, Inc.
Your Honor, I move the City Council authorize the city manager to enter into amendment number 5 to contract number 1337, Thomas Basin Seawall Design between the city and P&D Engineers, Inc. of Juneau, Alaska, in the amount not to exceed $296,769, bringing the total contract amount to $841,554, and approve funding in the amounts of $148,384 and $148,385, respectively, from the Tourism and Economic Development Department's 2015 Thomas Basin Seawall Improvements Capital Account and the Harbor Department's 2015 Thomas Basin Ramp Replacements Capital Account.
You have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Dave?
I just want to make a comment actually on the previous one. It's good to see a local contractor get the bid.
Yes.
Call the roll, please.
Coos?
Yes.
Severson?
Yes.
Olson? Oh, sorry. Carlson?
Yes.
Zingy?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes, Pam.
And Kiefer.
Yes, and I'll vote for Matt too.
You'll vote for Matt too.
That brings us down to 7A10, authorizing transition phase and alternate master budget in lieu of the original structural transition in Phase 2 of the Ketchikan Medical Center addition and alterations project master plan.
I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
I move the city council direct the city manager to submit to the city council such action items as may be required to move forward with the transition phase and alternates master budget in lieu of the original structural transition and Phase 2 of the Ketchikan Medical Center addition and alterations project master plan as detailed in staff's report dated August 12th, 2015.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Carl?
Mr. Mayor, this basically starts to address what we had referred to as Phase 2 of the hospital project. When we awarded the contract to Leighton Dawson last fall, we advised the council that based on value engineering that we had done in August, that we were able to get the scope to fit within the Phase 1 project, and we came just under about $8 million that at that time we felt could be applied to Phase 2. Since that time, a couple of things have happened. We asked Leighton Dawson to begin pricing out components of the Phase 2 of the project, and their pricing has come in higher than anticipated. As Phase 1 has progressed, and I noted in my cover report, the allowance that we put for the transition component of Phase 1, going from the old building to the new building, came in significantly higher than we had anticipated and higher than the allowance. Combination of those factors forced our working group to sit down and begin thinking about how do we want to address the Phase 2 project and try to incorporate the transition component of Phase 1. And in essence, the consensus was we're not going to be able to do Phase 2 as originally envisioned. And that given the money we have at our disposal, the consensus both from the hospital folks as well as our staff was to do something that we're calling the transition phase, what I would call a Phase 2 light that incorporates the transition from the old building to the new, which is critically important to the hospital and the Peace Health staff, and then move forward with expending the balance of the Phase 2 funds that we had set aside in a way that Peace Health and our staff think makes the most sense, knowing that, yeah, we could take that money and set it aside, but in all likelihood, if we don't do the work that we've identified now and we wait, it's going to cost more later. There's very little opportunity based on my discussions with our lobbyists, and I think this will come up in the next agenda item, that you're going to see much state funding towards capital projects that could be applied to a fully funded Phase 2 project for the foreseeable future. So I think the consensus from the Peace Health folks was if that's the environment we're in, it makes more sense to do what we can now, selecting components and elements from Phase 2, incorporated into this Phase 2 light project, transition project that we've identified here, and move on. And then when things turn around and the timing is right, there probably will have to be a Phase 3 project at some point. I have my staff here, including Mr. Romanesco from Dow, Mr. Corporon, Mr. Brown. I think we have a representative from Peace Health as well. We can respond to questions that council has.
Carl, by moving directly into a Phase 2 light, do we avoid additional mobilization costs?
We talked about that, and in all likelihood, when we take possession of the building, the new building, and turn it over to Peace Health, there's going to be a, what I'll call a transition phase, where they're going to start moving from the old building to the new building. We're not going to be able to keep a contractor around for that. So no, Leighton Dawson will demo, and we're likely going to bid out a new project.
Okay. Any other questions?
One other caveat that I just want to mention here to keep the council fully informed. We are on target right now, Phase 1 budget-wise. I'm not going to tell you that we've had hordes of money left over. It's going to be tight, and we're counting pennies now to get us through the end of Phase 1 within the allotted budget and contingency that we have. If we're not successful in that endeavor, obviously the scope that we've defined for you may be impacted on the transition phase. So I just want to get that out on the table and identify.
Thank
But
you.
we're going to do our best to bring it in.
Thank you. Dick?
So, Carl, then are we gonna let Phase 1 completely finish before we advertise this, or are we gonna try to get this on the street so that it follows closely?
We're going to get it on the street so it can follow as closely once Peace Health has vacated the space we need to do the transition elements, and then the elements for the other part of the transition phase. But a lot of this, is going to have to be designed, and, we need to bring those contracts back and get going on that work, and that's what we intend to do if the council concurs with our assessment.
Any other questions? Call the roll.
Coos?
Yes.
Zingy?
Yes.
Harris?
Aye.
Kiefer?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Severson?
Yes. brings us to 7A11, FY 217 Community Priority List, initial City of Ketchikan and Ketchikan Public Utilities legislative request.
Yeah, Your Honor.
Yes.
I move the city council approve the city of Ketchikan and KPU priorities for inclusion in the 2017 community priority list as detailed in the city manager report dated August 13, 2015, and/or as modified by the city council.
Second.
Dick?
I think that looks like a pretty good list, and, you know, based on Carl's comments and talking with Ray, we will do well if we come up with part of these. So, and they're good projects,
They're good
ones we
projects.
need.
They're all easily defensible.
Yeah.
Just easy.
There's
Things
no
falling down.
fluff in 'em.
Call the roll.
Zingy,
Yes.
Coos,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Severson.
Yes. That brings us to item 7B1, approving change order number 1 to contract number 15-09, Ketchikan Unit Number 3, Stator and Rotor Rewind, Delta Electric Motor, Inc.
Excuse me, Your Honor. Didn't we add a number 12?
What's
Did I
that?
miss that?
Oh, we did have
We
number
did
12,
that,
excuse
the
me.
senior park.
That's right, the senior parking.
Yeah. We have a letter, it's in the front of the packet, isn't it? Communication, here it is.
3A,
3B.
3B.
Yeah. That was addressed to Mayor Williams, and it's an ask for parking places in a parking lot behind the senior service for the senior staff members there, senior service staff members. I don't know if there's necessarily a motion in place, but I believe that is a permit parking area. And I know that all the city staff in this building who choose to park buy their permits monthly and yearly. I believe that the same should hold true for other businesses, regardless of their clientele or the type of service they're providing.
And just to add to what Bob says, I know there's a number of private individuals that have parking permits that park on there when they're working on the docks. So it's just part of doing business. Get a parking permit if you want to sit there all day.
I guess on this particular thing, unless there's a motion to move forward with it, we will just
I
address
have a
it.
question.
Yes,
How much is a parking permit?
$30
$30
bucks.
a month.
You can buy an annual permit and save like 2 months.
Is that particular lot generally full, or is it generally not full?
No.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen it more than the third full, that's why I was curious.
And is that 2-hour parking?
Alan, do you know off the top of your head?
Thank you. Hearing no motion or action, we'll stay as is. That brings us down to vouchers. No,
No.
7B1. Back to that one. Approving change order number 1 to contract number 15-09, Ketchikan Unit Number 3, Stator Rotor Rewind, Delta Electric Motors, Inc.
Your Honor, I move the City Council approve change order number 1 in the amount of $28,290 to contract number 15-09, Ketchikan Unit Number 3, Stator and Rotor Rewind between KPU and Delta Electric Motors Incorporated, bringing the total contract amount to $258,290. Approve funding from the Electric Division's 2015 Generator Rewind and Repair Capital Account, and direct the general manager to execute the change order on behalf of the City Council.
Second.
Dave, you have anything to add?
No, I just wish I'd been a rewinder. I should have been that when I grew up. That's why I wanted to rewind.
Call the roll, please.
Harris,
Aye.
Zingy,
Yes.
Severson,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Sure.
Carlson,
Yes.
Coos.
Yes.
All right, that brings us down to item 8, vouchers.
Who's not here? Maybe we just have to speak.
Your Honor.
Yes.
I move for approval of vouchers to Ketchikan Daily News in the amount of $615.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Call the roll, please.
Coos?
Yes.
Zingy?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Kiefer?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Severson?
Yes. Brings us on to manager's report. Carl?
Just for Mr. Mayor, we laid a report on the table tonight regarding the damage to the conveyor to the new baler. We're confident that the manufacturer is going to repair that and bear the cost, and we'll keep you advised. As part of the packet for this evening, we did submit to you the overtime report that Councilmember Zengi had requested, and staff is prepared to meet with the council at whatever time you determine appropriate on that. 2 items from Monday's assembly meeting. The borough did approve October 3rd as a sales tax holiday. The council had already concurred with that, so that will move forward on October 3rd. And the assembly elected not to move forward with an excise tax on tobacco products, and unless the council directs us otherwise, I'm going to consider that issue closed. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Assistant Fire Chief John Dorman. I noticed that he's turned in his notification of retirement, and I wish him well. Any comments or questions in regards to the report?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to see us add a discussion of the sales tax to our next meeting. The cigarette tobacco tax, sorry. The sales tax. Don't get me shot.
On the next council agenda?
Next council agenda.
Okay.
And how much time, Carl, does the staff need, do you think, when we're looking at setting a time to discuss the overtime report? Because I know there's vacations and all that kind of stuff.
We're
Over.
open. I mean, I will not be here for the next regular meeting of the council, but after that, barring any unforeseen circumstances, I'll be around, so.
So Carl wants us to do it next and third then?
Don't be climbing on the ladders.
Okay. City clerk's file?
None, Your Honor.
City attorney?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Future agenda items, we're going to add a discussion of the cigarette tax, is that correct?
Tobacco tax.
Tobacco tax?
And we should probably discuss the, well, I don't know if we need an agenda item for that, but when we want to have a meeting on the
Okay.
overtime report.
Okay. Brings us down to mayor and council comment. Dick?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Judy?
I don't know.
Yeah?
I just have a couple things. I wanted to thank the people that have put their names in the hat to run for different positions, both with the city council, the borough, and the city, the Ketchikan Gateway Borough School District. It's nice to see some people stepping up into those challenges. And I just want to say my heart goes out to the community of Sitka and the difficulties that they're facing. And obviously, you know, if there's anything our community can do, I'm sure we wouldn't hesitate.
Appreciate that, thank you. Dave?
Nothing, Your Honor.
KJ?
No, sir.
I did have a chance to talk to the governor and to Bert Stedman both in regards to the Sitka issue. Terrible tragedy. The governor did come to Ketchikan and talk at AML, and during the conversation, he was very shook and broke up by his visit to Sitka and dealing with the families involved. And of course, he'll declare a disaster there, and they'll get relief and be able to move forward with the recovery efforts without some of the permits involved in that particular incident. Also at AML, there was a number of economists and state budget officials there that talked about different items. And one of their concerns that they all related to was the fact that they don't believe the constituency fully understands the trouble the state of Alaska is in with the budget and what's going to be moving forward as we continue with oil at $42, there's not a significant amount to recover. We have used up all the statutory reserve, and we have about 2 years in the constitutional reserve. And that's even with some of the cuts that we'll be doing moving forward. They talked about additional revenue sources, and that's all the taxes involved, from income tax, property tax, sales tax, excise taxes. They don't know what they're going to do with those yet, but those are all on the table. But they wanted to get the message out to the people that, in some incidences, we don't see right now they're going to get, I think, a fairly healthy dividend this year, and people don't realize that state government, they're going to be doing a considerable amount of adjustments and reduction in employment and programs and things like that. And so they're just trying to, and they're going around the state right now trying to prepare people for that eventuality. And they said that at this particular time for the communities, we asked them, well, what local communities can do. They said, take care of your infrastructure, be careful about building new infrastructure, and look at your own resources. Presently, right now, of course, the permanent fund is bringing in more money than oil is. And so they got to leverage the permanent fund. And if the gas pipeline goes, the only revenues to make that work are permanent fund revenues. So they're talking about a cap and a use of those permanent funds going forward also. It's going to be part of the solution. How much of it, I'm not entirely sure. But our state legislators have a tough job ahead of them. This past year, they were able to manage, what they did with vacant positions, a few cuts, and some program reductions and some larger projects. This coming year is going to be even worse. There's things now that are going to affect people directly and projects. Local communities, our legislators got no discretionary money at all this year, and I think that's going to continue that way for a while. So I just wanted to get that message out there in regards to what we're going to do with budget. It's going to be tough going forward, and we're not going to be able to depend on the state for a while. Pass-through monies from the federal government, we're probably going to get some of that stuff yet. But things are trimming down quickly.
Can I just add, I think there was a comment recently that the bonding for the state is in jeopardy as well, being downgraded.
We are at AAA minus right now. And so that is also a concern. Okay.
We're sitting on $52.8 million, $52 billion that we, up to now, said we can't touch. That's what it was put there for.
Yep.
They've been trying to get it for years.
Well, there will be questions about how they will use that.
Yeah.
We suspended the executive session, so
Move to adjourn.
move to adjourn. Thank
Good
you.
job, Bob. Good job.